My name is Katrina Carey, and I support the U.S. Navy E2C2 platform as the Maintenance Planning Program Manager. As a maintenance planner, ILS is near and dear to my heart. To me, ILS is synonymous with the maintenance planning philosophy, where product support analysis and systems engineering are inextricably linked. And it's this linkage that is integral to supportability and success and sustainment. I hope I can provide a unique perspective, not just as a NavAir maintenance planner, but also as someone relatively new to this world of ILS. I started my NavAir career in 2018 with a national maintenance planning competency. We established standard processes, tools, and training across NavAir, as well as provided guidance to Navy platforms and other enterprise supportability efforts. This was my first introduction to ILS concepts, and I pushed myself to learn as much as possible out of fear that I would steer platforms wrong with my lack of experience. This was actually a gift, as the learning experience ignited my passion for maintenance planning and ILS. Having the opportunity to work with so many diverse platforms to improve maintenance planning across NavAir also gave me an enterprise-wide perspective that launched me into the next phase of my career. At NavAir, we operate in a unique environment with ever-changing requirements, budget uncertainties, and multi-organizational enterprise challenges that often leads us to a near permanent state of reactiveness. To quote Stephen Covey, most of us spend too much time on what is urgent and not enough time on what is important. The more I learned, the more I recognized systemic constraints that curtailed our success during sustainment. With over 80% of Navy platforms in sustainment, I was impassioned to shed light on these underlying issues. I did a tier rotation with ASNRDA, capitalizing on the birth of a new sustainment-focused department. During this time, I led the development of a Navy-wide sustainment initiative for holistic supportability health monitoring. With support from experts across the enterprise, we developed the first widely adopted tiered metric system at NavAir, built platform dashboards and reporting systems, and implemented policy changes for greater oversight and accountability in sustainment planning. These serendipitous experiences led me to where I am today, carving a path for E2D's government management of ILS activities as we outgrow the prime manufacturer and learn to walk on our own 2 feet. The E2C2 platform has been a pioneer, or what some might call a guinea pig, for many NavAir-wide sustainment improvement initiatives. These initiatives have had meaningful impacts on how we do business, but there's still an arduous journey ahead as we undergo this radical transition period. With E2D phasing out of production, our ties to the prime manufacturer are loosening. This allows us to remove the middleman and become masters of our own domain. As of April, we've officially assumed logistics integrator responsibilities, and now we must evolve from reviewers to doers. Taking ownership of ILS increases visibility on product development for quality control, reduces turnaround time, and provides long-term cost savings, which are necessary given our budget constraints. Since few NavAir platforms have stood up the same degree of organic ILS management, we've had to learn as we go and push past those growing pains. To support this new way of doing business, we're cleaning up the baseline product support package by reconciling ILS products to close gaps and increase alignment. In other words, we're ensuring fielded support truly aligns to the approved maintenance concept, closing the loop between logistics product data, technical manuals, supply, and the technical data package. We're improving bill of materials management by expanding configuration management capabilities and have refined our contract strategy for technical data. We're also buying more failure and repair data for continuous optimization and more proactive supportability improvements. We've revamped our level of repair analysis program to identify hundreds of millions in returns on investment from organic capability establishment. We've stood up an organic logistics product data management program with new software capabilities, skill sets, and business processes for continuous integration with engineering and ILS stakeholders. We've also transitioned technical manual management with our first published this month and more rapid publishing cycles into the future for greater currency in the fleet. Since we started this journey roughly 3 years ago, we've collaborated with numerous platforms from V22 to VH92 and many others. I am confident that without this collaboration, we would not be where we are today. And as a beneficiary of lessons learned from other platforms, we do everything we can to support the greater NavAir community with resources, advice, and more importantly, fellowship. It's not a surprise to me that the I in ILS can stand for both interoperability and integration. With interoperability meaning to work in concert with one another, and integration representing a synthesis of products from multiple sources. For me, the spirit of ILS is characterized by the belief that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. To enhance the benefit of ILS for all, I believe we must ultimately improve the interoperability and integration of products, processes, and people for total quality management. In consideration of products, data is in everything that we touch with ILS, and while passion provides purpose, it is data that drives decisions. A robust data architecture is necessary to mitigate drift between disparately managed products, manage multiple configurations, and streamline data synthesis. Data standards exist, but there are still many gaps in software interpretations that need to be addressed. Without common languages and ensured compatibility for data synthesis, challenges with data management and stovepiping will persist. NavAir and NavC are currently undergoing digital transformations to address this need for data integration and interoperability. DoD services are standing up product lifecycle management and model-based systems engineering tools, which have long been adopted by industry counterparts as vital instruments for traceability between requirements. The caveat to any digital transformation is that the data architecture must follow and support the behaviors we wish to reinforce, which brings me to the next consideration for ILS enhancements: process. From what I've seen at NavAir, many of our obstacles during sustainment are a direct result of deviations from established processes. This is not from a lack of trying, but instead from the trade-offs that must occur to field capabilities on time to our fleet. A question I've asked myself many times is that if we cannot successfully execute an established process, should this process then be adapted for greater feasibility? My answer to this question is derived from my own observation of workarounds across our organization, which some have come to accept as a necessary evil. I am of the opinion that if the problem isn't the process itself, but rather how capable we are of executing it, then it is in our best interest to mitigate constraints instead of introducing compounding inefficiencies with workarounds. But purist can be a four-letter word, and the complexity of our ILS infrastructure does not support an easy overhaul of unfounded business practices. This is why the data architecture and software solutions must become enablers of standard, robust ILS processes and not constraints on the process in themselves. When it comes to enablers and barriers to ILS success, people are the last critical piece to this puzzle. Similar to data architecture, organizational structure provides a framework that can either streamline process workflows and support holistic CPI, or cripple an organization with stovepiped channels and vast inefficiencies. While organizational realignment can revitalize and improve operations, products and process must also be honored, at the risk of driving product and process gaps further apart. Both data architecture and organizational structure must align to standard processes to minimize deficiencies by removing barriers and improving human interface with ILS. With these frameworks in place, workforce development becomes the impetus of successful ILS and process improvement. Comprehensive training programs must be traceable to practical and clearly defined ILS competencies, and opportunities for individual growth, both personal and professional, should be widely available and encouraged. Because ILS champions are created, not born. I owe much of my own personal growth to invaluable mentorship and a supportive yet diverse network of collaborators. And I believe that reciprocating this philanthropy is the highest expression of gratitude. As E2D transitions into full sustainment and we assume these new responsibilities, we've had to take a hard look at where we are now based on trade-offs that were made in the past. We've learned a lot by tracing supportability symptoms back to gaps in ILS, many of which are the same systemic challenges across NavAir. It's far too easy to fall into the trap of stovepiped product management, be it from engineering outpacing logistics, organizational barriers, and disparate IT systems that create configuration management challenges and misaligned ILS products. For these reasons, active design interface and maintenance planning and disciplined configuration management throughout the lifecycle is essential for integration of logistics support. To reduce barriers on interoperability, we also need the right tools and standard data infrastructure to support these rigorous processes and eliminate their workarounds. We also need a contract for supportability during acquisition rather than prioritize capability alone to ensure we have the necessary data for maintenance concept determination and ILS development. Thanks to these lessons learned from ILS advocacy, NavAir's culture is slowly but surely shifting to address root causes of sustainment shortfalls and prioritize ILS during acquisition. In line with continuous process improvement, we must persist in our pursuit of future ILS developments to enhance its benefits for all. And this cannot be done in a vacuum. It takes humility, courage, and a unifying vision to effect large-scale change. But most importantly, it takes commitment to community. Thank you all for being stewards of this community and collectively shaping our evolving ILS landscape. I don't know where this career will take me next, but I am optimistic and curious to see how our future progress will unfold.